From out here in the middle of Main Street, it may be a little difficult to find the key to successful retailing in this town. But take a closer look and you'll see that it's modern merchandising. Knowing what Mr. and Mrs. Public want and need, and presenting it to them so that they can only say, yes, we'll take it. These modern merchants adapt themselves to their markets and reach out and create markets. The streamlined supermarket, geared for volume and quick turnover, may present its wares one way. The corner drugstore in another. But whatever their methods, they're on their toes with the latest in merchandising. And as a result, they're creating bigger sales. Here's a jewelry store that's doing all right, too. With its own personality and special prestige in the community, it has earned a respected name. A name acquired through a long-range store policy of guiding and helping people. If this is your store, pat yourself on the back for those watch displays. A real magnet that draws attention to all the other items you sell. Silverware, jewelry, various specialties. But good display is only the beginning of a success story. Real selling, successful selling, is an inside story. And once you get them in, your selling starts with a simple question. A very simple question that immediately states why you're in business.
May I help you?
Yes, I'd like to look at a watch.
Is it for yourself?
Yes, it is.
Fine, won't you sit down?
Thank you.
Yes, may I help you? Offering aid and information to the prospect trying to find out about your watches.
What makes this watch so expensive?
How long will this watch keep good time?
What difference does the number of jewels make?
Well, what guarantee does this watch carry?
Is there really any advantage to these self-winding watches?
Well, suppose this watch gives me trouble.
Yes, prospects have many questions and doubts. Can you give them the answers they need? Can you get from them the information you need?
Is the watch for yourself or is it a gift?
You say your daughter's graduating from high school? Congratulations.
Oh, no, I wouldn't think of this as just a second watch.
Can you overcome their doubts about the watch they're thinking of buying? That has a lot to do with making sales and with keeping customers. To answer those questions and boost sales, you first must know what's in a watch and why. Behind the watch dial lie the answers to your prospect's questions. Answers that mean business for you. Let's see what they are.
What makes this watch so expensive?
Well, the matter of price is really a matter of quality. Of course, quality's a pretty big word. But when it comes to watches, quality can be something quite specific. Now, of course, you know that all Swiss watches...
And now's the time to get specific, with a few solid, reassuring facts, and perhaps an analogy. You know, the average woman may not know much about watches. But talk to her about dresses, and she knows a lot. Dresses on a sales rack may look alike, but this woman understands that materials, craftsmanship, and styling make a big difference in quality and in price. It's the same with watches. Tell her of the superior materials that go into these watches. Materials like certain special steels, which if bought by the ton would actually cost millions of dollars. How they're specially treated to make them durable and reliable. The parts may look exactly alike, you can explain, but were they finished in the same way? Polished to the same degree of perfection? Measured to 100,000ths of an inch? After all, precision parts are marks of quality. Tell her about the great tradition of craftsmanship that creates these watches. A watch is no better than the way its parts are assembled. It can be done in an hour, and it can take a skilled craftsman's full working day, and often longer. Close tolerance of parts, often to 1/50th the thickness of a hair, checking, testing, and retesting, all add up to craftsmanship in the movement. And the result is a fine movement that can't help but keep good time. The superior styling of these watches speaks for itself. In the fine watch, the case is designed especially to fit the movement. The woman who wants extra luxury with precious metals and stones can get it, but she'll have to pay for it, of course. Quality shows, too, in the finish and appearance of the dial, the hands, the bracelet. Yes, a fine watch not only looks good, it is good.
And that's why this watch costs what it does. Now, naturally, there are watches at lower prices, but this fine watch is one that our store reputation has been built on. Now, I'm sure that you want quality in anything personal, whether it's a dress or a watch. And this fine watch has the quality built right into it. Isn't that nice?
May I try it on?
Certainly. May I help you?
Thank you.
How long will this watch keep good time?
Oh, it'll keep very good time, sir, for a long time to come, especially after the watch is regulated for you. That's why we'd like for you to come back to us after you use the watch for a week or two. You see, every individual...
That's it. Keep them coming back for their own benefit as well as yours. Remind your customer that as an individual, he uses his watch in an individual way. He may be a star on the golf course or shine in the clubhouse. He may be a table pounder at the office or a handyman around the house. Whichever way the customer leads his life, his watch has to get accustomed to it. And that's where you come in.
See how it behaves. Then just bring it in and we'll be glad to regulate it for you. You see, we're specialists in watches. We regulate every watch that leaves the store. That's the best way we can help your watch keep good time.
Oh, may I see that? Tell me, is that extremely small watch reliable?
Oh, for all practical purposes, certainly. However, small size does set up certain limits.
Yes, they do have a special charm. But the very fact that a watch is unusually tiny makes it more difficult to perform extremely delicate assembly operations. With a tiny watch, you'll certainly have to give it more care than its bigger sisters. It's not as rugged as the utility watch for working hours, nor the sport watch for playtime. But the dress watch graces the female wrist as no other watch can.
But in any case, the difference in accuracy is so minute that for most practical purposes, it simply doesn't matter. You've got distinctiveness and good timekeeping in one small package.
Do you guarantee this watch?
Every watch we sell carries our own store guarantee. We're proud of our name, and our name stands behind every watch that leaves the store. But when you come right down to it, the only person that can really guarantee that the watch will perform at its best is you.
Well, that's putting it right back in your customer's lap. And no matter what your guarantee terms are, here's a good opportunity to give them a quick course in the care and feeding of a fine watch. Feeding time is winding time, and that should come every morning at about the same time, even when the proud owner is not using his watch. Whoops, just saved it. A fine watch needs protection against shock and falls, as well as such dangers as wide variations in temperature. If it does need fixing, though, he should know that this is precisely what not to do. Surgery, even for a watch, isn't for the amateur, but for a highly skilled repairman. And the watch repairman is also the man to give it a periodic overhaul.
And with a thorough checkup periodically, you can be sure that your watch will run smoothly. Oh, we'll guarantee the watch all right, but the real guarantee is in the way you treat it.
What difference does the number of jewels make?
Oh, a great deal of difference, madam. But first, may I ask you, do you know what a watch jewel is and what it does?
No.
Well, a watch jewel is really not a precious stone at all.
Ah, here's where we dust off some ancient cobwebs and clear the public air. First, make clear that your client does not confuse the precious jewel she might wear in her ring with the watch jewel. Explain that a watch jewel is a synthetic stone which has been carefully fired to give it the special quality of extreme hardness. While the material worth of this synthetic stone can be counted in pennies, watch jewels are extremely valuable because just as oil cuts down friction and keeps wheels turning, so the watch jewel is used to protect the moving parts of your watch against wear and friction. In a fine watch, these synthetic bearings are located at the most vital and critical points of action. Yes, the number of jewels used, the way they are precision cut and positioned, is important in the fine watch. Without them, the jewel lever movement, our finest timekeeping mechanism, would not be possible.
So you see, while the jewels themselves are not precious, the work they do in your watch is extremely valuable.
Who would use a watch with all these special gadgets?
Well, sir, you might. May I ask what field you're in?
I operate a small manufacturing plant.
Well, let me show you one. Now, this specialized chronograph might turn out to be a real time saver for you. Tells perfect time, of course, but in addition, it has a specialized production counting scale, which shows the production rate per hour. Let me show you how it works. Now, here's how you determine the number of units produced per hour. Now, if your observable production time...
Yes, there's a special feature watch for almost every person's special interest. These devices tell everything about time, and quite a bit besides. Is your customer a doctor? An airplane pilot? An engineer? Does he work in television or radio? If so, he might be able to use any one of these versatile special watches.
Oh, it's a special feature watch, all right. One that's designed to meet your needs and help you solve some of your special problems.
You know, my friend has a watch which she wears while doing housework.
Oh, yes. Here's one of that type. You see, the case has been closely machined and tightly fitted. And then it's been sealed and tested to keep
Yes,
out moisture.
sealed and tested to protect it from the harmful effects of moisture, fumes, condensation, and dust. When she's rushing and accidentally plunges her hands into the water, if she has to reach into the oven to keep the potatoes from burning, or when she reaches down deep into the freezer, her watch is protected.
And with all that added protection, just let me show you how graceful this watch is.
Why, it's beautiful.
Isn't it wonderful?
Is there really any advantage to these self-winding watches?
But definitely. Let me show you a few. Now, here's one in the square case, and here's one in the round case. You know, a self-winding watch is the very next thing to perpetual motion.
Yes, it's the very next thing to perpetual motion. If there's one point to impress on the purchaser of a self-winding watch, that's it. A moving weight is the key to the self-winding watch. At the slightest action of the wearer's arm, the weight moves and feeds power to the mainspring continuously and steadily, so that the extremes of spring tension are avoided.
That's it. Just move your arm and the watch winds itself. It's practical and it frees you from winding worries. No underwinding or no overwinding. Just steady spring tension. Just wear it and forget about it until you want the correct time.
Here you are. Thank you for waiting.
Thank you. While you were wrapping my watch, I was looking through this book. It's very interesting.
Oh, yes. That's the inside story of Swiss watchmaking.
Well, suppose this watch gives me trouble.
Well, as it says right here in the book, your fine watch deserves only the finest care, and we'd be happy to help you with it. Now, our service department is completely equipped to keep your watch...
Yes, servicing the fine watch is an important part of continuing contact with your customer. And your watch service department can be a real source of satisfaction in gaining the customer's confidence and making profits for you. Sure, your skilled watchmaker can cure any watch ailment. But while the genuine Swiss repair parts he uses are standardized and interchangeable, repairmanship definitely is not. The fine craftsman diagnoses each watch like an individual patient and applies the cure with surgical skill. Whether it's a routine cleaning or a major job, both receive the precise, knowing care of the craftsman.
And when you realize that the balance on the average watch swings 432,000 times every day, well, a regular yearly overhaul really isn't too much.
Not too much at all. And your answers weren't too much either. Just enough to clear up doubts and hesitations, and to satisfy the prospect. Yes, this jewelry store is doing all right. That's why it's up top with the retail leaders. By the way, could this be the store you own? Or the store you work for?